welcome to the opening Kickoff Podcast. Oh my, this is going to be probably one of our favorite shows of all time that we ever do. And we will explain in a couple minutes why that is the case. I'm your host, Dave Steinwaddle. I've got my two guys with me, co-host number one, Peyton Gerard. How you doing?
Don't ask me how I'm doing. It's a serious week. It's an important week. It's Ravens week.
We will have that discussion later on when we get to the NFL.
It's important. It's a big week.
Yes,
big week.
Yes,
I've been getting texts from other people saying how important it is that we win this, or actually people rooting against us so we don't get the number one seed. Because if we win this, things are looking on the up and up for us, not for you.
I kind of feel like I know who you're talking about.
Exactly.
I know exactly who you're talking about, but we're not going to go there. Let me bring in my guy, co-host number two, Mr. Brandon Stevens is here. How you doing, man?
Doing well, Dave. Good day. I am lacking in like every sport category. My football team sucks. My fantasy team sucks. The Celtics got destroyed in the playoffs. It's just
move on past that. That's already done. It's
awful. I'm having a bad time. Very bad time.
Hey, Peyton is right there. You got to move past this one, Brandon. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't like you went to the finals and lost. Like, that's different. If you went to the finals and lost, I feel like you could still be upset about it.
I mean, who says I gotta move on from this?
Me.
Everybody.
I think we all do. I think we'd like you to move on.
Okay.
Let me bring in the guy that's sitting there in the Steelers outfit with the big glasses on. It's second time on the show. We got the invite back. Don't know how. Devin Fleet is with us. Devin, how you doing?
I'm good, Dave. Like I said, I was telling you guys earlier, I just lost $20 in golf today, so I'm not in the greatest of moods. But you know what? We're here. The Steelers are 6-0, just beat a 5-0 Titans team. And we're one win away this weekend from almost securing the division. So I'm ready to talk about it.
Wow. Doesn't it sound like so much worse if you lose this game, Dave? Like in that way?
It's tough.
It's a tough look.
That's tough.
We will get there. We will get there. Calm yourself. We have, by the way, this is a pre-taped interview that we have coming up in a little bit, but the three of us talked about this after we taped this. This is a top 5 moment. The guests that we have on, and I think the conversation we've had goes right up there. And we've had some really great guests and some really great conversations on this pod with a lot of great people. But Peyton, Brandon, I know how you guys feel. I think the guest that we have coming up here in a couple minutes that you're going to hear from is probably an all-timer.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
It was a great interview. Thank you to Quincy for giving us your time. It was definitely fun. I liked how he asked us questions back. Challenged us as well. It was a great time.
And Dave, from the snippet that you showed me of that interview, it sounds like an incredible interview. I'm excited to listen to it as well.
Yeah, it is great. Quincy Avery, who is a personal quarterback coach. He's worked with guys like Deshaun Watson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and others. That's the interview you're going to hear in a little bit. But it got me thinking, and this will be what we open our show with. Top 5 moments, because we've had some moments on this pod, and we've had some great guests, and we're not disparaging any guests when we don't have them in the top 5, but I got to know, Brandon and Peyton, who else do you look at as just been so much fun? I mean, we've had some great people on. Now, who's the guy to go to the top of the list for you, Peyton?
Dave McCarthy. Guy was, first moment he spoke, he was just electric. I mean, I felt like I was sitting at a bar drinking a beer with a guy talking hockey, and I mean, he was just like so friendly. I loved it. Loved every second of it. And since he's been on again, each time he's been on, it's been great. Loved every second. Also, the Winter's Mill coaching staff have always been a hoot. I don't know I don't know if it's always the best quality for the listeners or whatever, but it's always
it's always fun for us.
It's a controlled shit show is basically what it is. So it's those are probably up there, especially.
Yeah. I mean, Brandon, who's your guys? I mean, I'll rattle off mine when we're done this. But who's the guy that goes to the top of your list that we've had on numerous?
So personally, not a guy that I personally haven't talked to, but Dave Medina is always great. Always love hearing from him.
Mark Medina.
Oh, I said Dave Medina. Yeah, Dave, not Dave. Mark Medina. Yeah, I'm looking at Dave, which is why I said Dave. Yeah, Mark Medina. Mark Medina is always great. Ben Albright, when we had him on, was a fantastic time. Dave McCarthy, great guy. We've had a lot of quality guests. We really have. It's hard for me to try to put that list together because I feel like if I leave somebody out, I'm gonna be slighting them, and I definitely don't want to do that. Bad enough I already pronounced somebody's name wrong, so
Yeah, and this isn't us like patting ourselves on the back and congratulating ourselves for having these guests on. It's sometimes you take a moment when you're doing what we're doing, and Devin, the more times you're on, you'll get that understanding and get that feeling. But for us, you have to have moments where you just Brandon hopped off. He'll be back on in a minute.
Unreal situation.
I know we got technical difficulties, but you just kind of take stock of where you are and where this is. And I tell you, Richard Justice was great when we had him on. When we had Richard Justice on. We were actually together. Brandon and I were in studio. I think it might have been our last in-studio show we did was that one. Richard Justice was great. We love Dan Clark every time.
Yeah. Dan Clark goes without saying, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Dan, put him in his own echelon because he's so good. Ben Albright is great. Antoine Staley, we can't forget about him. He's been fantastic every time he comes on. I even thought that Lindsay OK was fun when we had her on that 1 week.
You're just rambling now. You're just see Dave's trying to please everybody. See,
that's right. I am.
That Richard Justice show, the last show that we had on campus, was a great show for many reasons. Richard Justice being one of them, but that was a great show. That was a fun time.
And I'm like you guys, Mark Medina and Dave McCarthy. Every time we get to talk to them is phenomenal. And I'll throw Dan Wolkin in there as well. Dan always comes on and provides really good content for us. But we got a guy that's going to really present some great content for us on the other side of this break. He is quarterback guru, the man that runs the QB takeover. Quincy Avery is on the other side of this break. But first, Brandon, tell us what Thrive can do for you.
All right,
tell me everything.
I know the masses have been waiting for me to give the almighty ad read. So here we go. All right. We're very excited to be working with Thrive Fantasy Sports. Just shout out to them real quick. Thanks for, lending a hand to this podcast. We really appreciate it. But come prop up on Thrive Fantasy this season. Thrive Fantasy is a daily sports app for player props. They have eliminated the need to do countless hours of research because they only ask you about the top tier athletes in their respective sport. No need to worry about the bench guys. No need to worry about the backup guys. If it's NFL, you choose 10 out of the 20 player prop options to build your lineup. If it's the NBA, MLB, PGA, or esports, you choose 5 out of the 10 player prop options to build your lineup. Each prop has a fantasy point total associated with the over-under based on its likelihood to occur. The more points the selection is worth, the riskier it is. You rack up the most points to win a share of the prize pool. If you think, if you play fantasy sports and you do daily fantasy, normally those top guys get the bigger rewards. That's normally how this works. If it's PGA, Thrive has new contests each day for tournaments, Thursday, Friday, things like that. It's each individual day. You don't have to set it up for an entire week. So don't sweat your golfers ruining your weekend by not making the cut. Thrive has awarded over $1.4 million in prizes since launching in 2018, and has $50,000 guaranteed in prizes for the NFL contest weekly. So use promo code Kickoff when you sign up today, and you will receive an instant, like I mean, right then and there, $50 bonus on your first deposit of $20 or more. Download Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store today and prop up.
Welcome back to the Opening Kickoff Podcast. Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm your host, I'm Dave Steinwell. I got my guy Peyton Gerard with me, and Brandon Stevens is here as well. We are pleased to be joined by the man behind Quarterback Takeover. He is a quarterback guru. He's worked with the Elite 11 Academy, working with some of the top quarterbacks from around the country. He's got a couple big-name clients that he works with on a regular basis. That man is Quincy Avery is joining us. Quincy, thank you so much for coming on. How you doing tonight?
What's going on, fellas? I'm doing amazing. Actually, just got off a little car rally, so I am, just hanging in there.
All right. Well, there's a lot we want to get to. We're going to discuss some of the current NFL quarterbacks. We'll discuss some of the work you've done with guys like Deshaun Watson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. But your story to me is fascinating, and I want to start with the fact that you gambled on yourself after you left college. You said you were going to go to UCLA. You became a grad assistant for a year, an assistant coach. Then you leave after Rick Neuheisel, you didn't think was going to be long for the job. How motivated were you after the UCLA thing to say to yourself, this is what I want to do, when probably other people were telling you to go get a different job?
I mean, I was extremely motivated, but that's kind of who I am as a person, kind of the life I live, and I think it lends well to the thing that I do today. Like, if I wasn't built like that, or if that's not the perspective I had in terms of being able to put everything on the line for the things that I desire and things that I want and need, then I'm not sure I'd be as successful as I am today, and it probably wouldn't have worked out in the way that it has. So I just think that my personality traits allowed me to go all in on the thing that I said I was passionate about.
Now, Quincy, when you were going through like your journey and going through college and grad assistant there, did you know when did you know really this is what you wanted to do, like your life, like as a career, like working with quarterbacks, guiding young men, helping them better themselves, getting into better situations in college? When did you know that's kind of what you wanted to do?
So I was the official title I had was QC. I just don't want someone down the line to say that I was lying on my resume or anything. But
yeah,
when I was there, I asked an associate AD if we could get guys suits, so I thought that it would be important to, help these guys out for post-career. And they're like, no, that's not really our job. And that was kind of the moment that it clicked in my head that I shouldn't be coaching in the team atmosphere, because I really cared about these guys as people, and them thriving, not only on the field but off the field, was equally as important to me. So shortly after that, and I just saw the boom of quarterback trainers. I saw the George Whitfields, the Steve Clarksons.
Mm-hmm.
I was aware that there was a market out there, and I also knew that I had a skill set that could help out a lot of different people. So it was shortly after that, right in that time period, that I decided that I was going to make the switch and go into the private quarterback training space.
So Quincy, could you speak on some things that sort of kept you going? I mean, I read through your story, and it's so powerful, so moving, and it's just one of those things where you look at it and you wonder, how did this guy keep going, right? You got every obstacle imaginable thrown at you. You just kept pushing. What kept you going?
Yeah, I mean, I was literally living out of over 1,000 days of my adult life. I had to live out of a car, right? So there was just a lot of no's, a lot of no, I don't want to train you. But I don't know. I was convicted in my belief that I would be able to thrive in the thing that I wanted to do. So there was no other option, right? I got offered real regular jobs, financial advisor type jobs, and I was I don't want to do. I will not be happy with myself if I don't go on the path of the thing that I say that I want. And I'm something who's really big on making the things that you say you want and the actions that you put out in the world. I make sure those are congruent. And as long as I was saying that I wanted to be a quarterback trainer, I was willing to do whatever it was to get there.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you're living out of your car for a while, and you're sending out all these messages to young quarterbacks, trying to tell them you want to mentor them, and eventually Josh Dobbs is the one that says, "Hey, I want to work out with you." What was that feeling like when you finally heard from somebody that was like, "Yes, I want you to help me out"?
Yeah, well, I kind of tricked Josh into doing that. I marketed this camp like I was going to have all the top quarterbacks in Georgia come out. And, of course, I didn't have any money to really rent a field. So I ended up, like, getting it like 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday. It's something crazy like that. It was super early in the morning, and I convinced this place to let me get it for free. Josh couldn't come because he had a baseball game. So he just messaged me like, "Coach Avery, I can't make it, but I would love to get a workout in." And I'm like, oh, here it goes. So our first workout, like I got like a camera, I got a cameraman, I got like 2 cameras that do not work. Like I was like willing to do whatever it was to make sure that I had the appearance that I was as buttoned up as can be. And that's like my little brother. Like me and him talk almost every day. So it was more than just football. And it wasn't at a time when he had like a bunch of scholarship offers and things like that. Like I know people probably hear the story and they're like, "Oh, you try to poach a kid who was already." No, it wasn't like that. It was like he was a good quarterback. Like I saw that he had some decent stats. He had no scholarship offers, nothing like that. It was like I saw somebody who had some potential, and I was willing to do whatever it was to help them get better.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm a Steelers fan. I'm so glad the Steelers brought Josh Dobbs back. I mean, the guy, they literally talked about it this week that they gave him credit for giving Ben the look to throw James Washington a touchdown 2 weeks ago. I mean, the guy helps us win. So I love that. I love hearing stuff like that. Now, you work with a number of quarterbacks. I think I saw on the list was Trey Lance was one of them that you've had the pleasure of working with. I don't know if you caught their one game that they did like their one kind of preview for him. Do you think that was like necessary in helping build his stock? Like seeing another extra game for him? Because I thought it was already solidified where he's at in his game. I guess it was just a little more of a tease there.
Yeah, I mean, no, he didn't. We were on the same page. He didn't need to play in that game. And I think us all agreeing that he didn't need to play that game and him still playing it in that game says more about him than anything else, right? Mm-hmm. It says that he really loves football. It says he wants to compete. It says he wants to be there for his teammates. I don't think that the school would say that it was just a showcase for Trey Lance, right? There's a lot of other seniors on that team who have an opportunity to continue their career because NDSU does a tremendous job of developing athletes. And Trey cared about them enough to say, I'm going to go out there to make sure every scout who could come out here or is possibly thinking about coming out here comes to this game. So he was thinking about other people when it could cost him a ton of money or a ton of opportunities. And that says something about him as a person. And it makes me really, really proud to be around somebody like that.
I like that. Love that.
Now, I want to ask about Deshaun Watson because that's probably the name that everybody will associate with you, even though you've done work with a lot of different guys. How did you and Deshaun Watson get hooked up, Quincy? And then what's that relationship been like between you two?
It's not a good guy, not a bad guy to be associated with, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not bad company to keep.
That's another guy who's like my brother. I'm with him every week. I'm actually in Houston right now. I'm in I don't know if this is like a video podcast, but I'm in an airport hangar. I'm in an airport, like a Clearport hangar, because of Deshaun. Like, people associate with him with me, and I'm happy about that because we've done so much work together that seeing him be successful really means a lot to me, and it's allowed me to really grow in my career. So I'm thankful for that. But I'm thankful to have him as a friend, right? So in the same way that I can that a lot of my clients talk to me about stuff they have going on, I'll talk to him about things I have going on. My daughter calls him Uncle Sean. Like, all those things are present in my life. Like, he's legitimately not just someone I train, but one of my best friends. So it's cool to be around people like that, people who are like-minded as me, that they're willing to do whatever it is so that they can be successful. And as bad as his team's playing right now, he's playing some of the best football that he's ever played. So all those things mean the world to me.
I agree. We're a big Deshaun Watson podcast here. We're big. I mean, we rank him very high in the top 10 in our list here.
So I do too.
I would hope so, or then we have a whole separate conversation there.
Yeah.
So Quincy, I just wanted to talk about you just growing up in Minneapolis. You know, as you know, 2020's been, you know, one hell of a year for, you know, everybody, especially the citizens of Minneapolis. You know, just could you talk a little bit about that, like how you've been, you know, viewing this year, how you know, viewed the stuff that you went through in Minneapolis, and, you know, what is it like to still see that sort of thing still going on today?
To see Minneapolis as kind of the the key, it's kind of key in terms of the political movement that we're having today, and I think that it makes a ton of sense. I grew up less than a mile away from where George Floyd was killed, but the thing about it is, Minneapolis can be both the best place in the country for someone to get a public school education, and it also can be the worst. And that's simply like by skin color and kind of where you guys are zoned to school. You're also 13 more times likely to be assaulted or shot by a police officer if you're African American, rather than if you're someone not of color. So there's all those different things and all those different dynamics in Minneapolis, which creates a very unique environment, right? There's a large divide in wealth, and there's a large divide in education, and a large divide in the way that people are treated. So when I saw that it happened in Minneapolis, it wasn't something that surprised me. It wasn't something that shocked me. It was sad, as I think everybody would agree, but it also made me proud the way that people in Minneapolis responded. Like they had enough, and I'm glad that they did, and I hope that it creates meaningful change in this country. I'm not sure that it will, but I'm glad that they made an effort.
And one of the things to piggyback off of that, in the Washington Post article that they wrote about you a couple weeks ago, you had the conversation about the fact that you want athletes to be more vocal. Do you think right now, Quincy, that there's enough of the prominent athletes speaking out about this, or do you think there needs to be more action and more things said by these players?
It really depends on their education level. Not education level. Let me take that back. It depends on how truly invested they are in these issues. Like, how much are they going to research? How much studying are they going to do? How much time are they going to set aside so they really have the information that is required when they're asked questions about the things that are going on, so that they can give educated statements to let people know not only what they want to get changed, but why they're making the protests that they're making. Or reaching out to the right people just so they can get connected and get the information. But if they do those things, then I want them to stand on the front line and be the face of change, because people listen to athletes.
Yeah, I always felt like, you know, it was never enough to just give a simple retweet to a tweet, or, you know, always go with the trendy thing that's happening, especially with these big names, these athletes. I mean, we see it all over the place. You know, I felt like, you know, if people, you know, sort of dove more into the statistics and just, you know, did their own research, or maybe just went out and had, you know, a firsthand experience with these people who are, you know, sort of on the front lines fighting these things, you know, and then talk about that, it would make a world of difference. A world of difference. You know, I feel like a lot of the times, especially in these, you know, professional sports leagues, they sort of do it when the timing is right. And I always feel like it's something that should happen all the time, right? Like, we should always have an eye on this, because this isn't something that's, you know, only happening every couple months or every couple years. Like, this is happening every day. to people that sort of fall by the wayside, and I feel like they need a voice.
Yeah, there's a few cases every year that happen to get enough publicity for people to really care about. But there's tons of things that happen daily. And the other real issue is that people think it's only a problem when somebody dies or gets shot by the police. There's a lot of other microaggressions that people have to deal with in terms of dealing with the cops and things like that make it difficult to just be a black person in this country. But I don't want to go too deep on that. You know what I'm saying? That's just kind of
Yeah, gotcha.
But again, it's a conversation that needs to be had, and we'll continue to do it. I want to talk about some quarterbacks, not in the college game and also in the pro game. I want to go back to Deshaun Watson for a minute, Quincy. What sort of stuff are you working on with Deshaun without giving away all your secrets at this point? Because I think to a lot of people, Deshaun Watson is a finished product that is spectacular, but what do you guys kind of tend to work on the most nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, we're always working on something. I'm trying to think of the best way to explain that without at the same time because he kind of likes to keep that thing like in-house. But what we're trying to do is make Deshaun Watson the most consistent quarterback in the NFL at all levels, not only physically but mentally, right? In order to help him expand his game so that he can be successful no matter what people throw at him on the defensive end, and so he can continue to make the Superman plays that he's become so famous for.
I love that. Now, I'm only going to ask this because of one of my friends here, Brandon, is a Bills fan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you notice or watch, any games other than, if you catch any other than the Texans on Sundays. But when you're watching any games like on Sunday, are you like thinking in your head, like evaluating any of these guys or anything? Specifically, the real question is Josh Allen. Do you think he's good or bad? That's literally what I'm going to ask. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of football, and I watched Josh Allen a good bit. I saw Josh Allen throw before he came up for the draft. I
put you in a tough spot. I know I did.
I think that Josh Allen creates enough problems for defenses that he can be used in an effective way so that he can continue to make it difficult on defenses. Right? Do I think that Josh Allen's like an MVP candidate quarterback? No, I don't. Right? But I don't think you have to be at that level or that caliber in order for people to determine that you're good. I think that now he's with the right offensive staff that allows him to be really, really involved in the run game. Do I think that he's like a consistent passer? No. But I think that he makes enough wild plays in conjunction with his ability to run that he can help your offense. Now, if Josh Allen buttoned down and really grinded and determined that he wanted to play the game above the neck and use all those things to be a really consistent quarterback, I think that he could be in that top tier of quarterbacks. He's not there now, right? But he has a skill set. It's not a talent issue. He's got all the talent in the world, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with Josh Allen.
I want to ask about Lamar Jackson because I'm a Raven fan. One of the most polarizing, probably quarterbacks in the league to discuss because it seems like when he's going well, everybody's praising him. But as soon as it goes south, everybody dumps on Lamar Jackson. It's year 3. Quincy, what do you see out of Lamar Jackson this year? Good or bad or both?
I haven't watched enough Lamar this year. I'm just going to be honest. I watched a lot of Lamar last year. And what I saw from him is he can throw from the pocket, right? But his game is really predicated on his ability. It's really his ability to run opens up everything else. So as teams continue to scheme them, and this is kind of my thought last year, like as teams continue to understand what they're doing on offense at a higher level, it's going to get more and more difficult for Lamar Jackson to continue his success. Much in the same light, I think that he has to develop, or they have to develop, a more complementary offense that allows the pass game and the run game to truly marry and mesh, right? And not just their play action stuff, but the things from under center, right? They've got to use motions in a way that allow or create true stress on the defense. And let's simplify things in terms of the passing game right now so that he can make quick, simple reads, make it very digestible for him, and go from quickly those reads to becoming an issue in terms of scrambling and evading the pocket. He's great in the quarterback run game on design runs. I want him to be better in terms of scrambling on design passes where he can create real stress on the defense. And he doesn't have to be a passer after he scrambles. Just run. And then I think things will continue to open up a little bit more for him this year.
Now, there's another quarterback that we're not the biggest fans of, and it's Sam Darnold. But he is not in a very good situation with the Jets. We all can admit that. You probably see him a little differently than we do. Quincy, what are your thoughts on Sam Darnold? And are people fair to be writing him off, or is there a lot to like in his game?
Well, how do you guys see him? I think that's a fair question. Can I ask you guys that?
I think that he has, I'm sure you obviously made it to the NFL. You have great talent to get there. You were a first-round pick. But the problem, I think, is that he is put in such a bad system, and I don't think they're willing to help. They're saying, you need to figure this out. This is how we want to do it, that you got to figure out and play around us, where I just feel like they're not trying to adapt with what he wants to do, and they're not trying to elevate his game anymore. That's how I just see it, where
Agreed.
I think he could thrive in a billion other situations day one and look better than a bunch of other quarterbacks. But the Jets want him to do it their way, which I don't get how you do it that way. But, to each his own, I guess.
So here's what I'll say about Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's been given a lot of passes by the system and the media, right? Rosen, same type of situation. He's now practice squad Tampa Bay. Dwayne Haskins, same type of situation. He's now the third or an inactive quarterback. Daniel Jones, same type of thing. He's struggling too. None of those guys get the same passes as Sam Darnold. At one point, we're going to have to say, yeah, your team's not that good. You don't have a lot of things around you, but you have to play better. You have to be better in terms of the things that you're doing on a weekly basis. Because we can't continue to say that it's not Sam Darnold. I a great guy, right? I've seen him work out a ton, and I'm really good friends with his quarterback trainer. But I don't want to continue to say that it's not Sam Darnold's fault when nobody else gets the same benefit as him in terms of that.
All right, Quincy Avery, we got him back after the technical issues. I want to ask about Cam Newton because he's become such a polarizing quarterback this year, playing in Foxborough. And yesterday, yikes, it did not go well for the Patriots. What are you seeing in Cam's game this year? Is there anything you're seeing in his game that is concerning you?
So I didn't see yesterday's game yet. So
it's good. You don't want to watch it. It was very bad. It's whatever you think of Cam Newton, keep that mindset because I like Cam Newton.
So I think that Cam's great, and I think he started off the season really well, so that's why it's kind of confusing how he could regress so quickly. But here's what I will say about Cam Newton, and I know this from throwing with him a bit this summer, this offseason, right? If Cam Newton takes any time off in terms of throwing, then he has the ability to regress in terms of his throwing mechanics because so much of what he does is predicated on a lot of work that he had to do in these past off seasons in order to be able to throw consistently and mechanically correct. Cam had COVID. I'm not sure if he was able to work out and throw in the same manner in which he needs to in order to consistently be successful, right? He's been on such a tight regimen for, I saw him in June or July, something like that. He's been on a tight regimen since at least June, July, and then saw him again end of August, and he was still doing the same thing. So if he takes any time off from that, it's not like riding a bike for him, right? He's got to really put the work in terms of being successful and throwing the correct way. So I'm going to be interested to see if he can pick it back up, if he can get the work in to do that. I'm not sure what their bye week situation is, right? And if I was able to look at that schedule, I think I would have a better idea in terms of, all right, is he going to be able to pick it back up? Like if they have a bye week in like a week or two, like he plays his next game, then he would likely struggle again. Then the bye week comes up, then I think that he could turn the corner and get back on track. But it's hard to work on your fundamentals in the rigors of an NFL practice week.
Yeah, they had their bye 2 weeks ago. I think they had to move it up, due to the COVID issue. I think it was scheduled later in the season. They moved it up to week 5.
That's going to be problematic for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only just him, it's other guys getting it, so they can't practice as a whole. So, I mean, that, like you said, it is, for any team, its problems not being able to practice in general, especially if your quarterback in that kind of a situation isn't getting to throw day to day.
Yeah.
So Quincy, I got a question. For any aspiring, QBs, young QBs out there that may be listening to this, what advice would you give to them as to, how to pursue their ultimate goal?
The issue that I would ask them to, in the same vein that I said that I talked about the thing that I wanted to do, and I was willing to do whatever it took to get there, I want them to have that same mindset. Understand that they want to be a quarterback. There's millions of quarterbacks across the country, right? There's going to be a very few of them who have the opportunity to be successful. You won't be able to get that unless you outwork them, because talent is not enough. There's too many people who have too much access to too many different coaches, the information, in order for everybody to have an opportunity to be successful. So I'd ask them to work as hard as they possibly could. And I would ask them also to not have your parents bail you out of every difficult situation that you're going to get into, right? Because you're going to get into a lot between 6th, 7th grade and they're in their high school. And those are valuable reps in terms of learning to deal with adversity. And you're going to learn how to work through things, and you're going to be better prepared when you face adversity as a quarterback, because it will happen, right? And you got a team full of guys who are going to be depending on you to be able to bounce back. And if you're not able to do that, not only will you not be successful, but you won't be able to do the things that your team needs of you. And they're all relying on you to be their quarterback.
And sign up for QB Takeover. Best, I mean, we gotta.
We offer good services now.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, Quincy, we'll get you out of here on this one. Kind of a fun question. Who's the biggest name that turns you down? Like, for instance, we reach out to a ton of big name people to have come on the podcast, including yourself. We get turned down by some pretty big names. Who was the one guy you reached out to that's a pretty prominent name that was like, thanks, but no thanks?
That's wild. I'm really thinking about it. I can't think of anybody who's recently said no. Like when they were younger, there was guys who say no, but they didn't end up being like big names, Mm-hmm. At this point, all the quarterbacks that I want to work with or would want to reach out to, I've any young quarterback in the NFL, I've practically known since they were in 11th grade, right? Because like Elite 11, all different stuff. So I've seen them. So I'm not getting a whole bunch of no's now, and that probably sounds cocky, but
it's
nice great brag. Though. I love it.
Nice, yeah, I love it. I applaud that. I love that.
Yeah, not a whole bunch of people say no, they don't want to work with me. Who said no to you guys? I want to hear if you guys. You the big name who said no.
Hold on, let me pull up my emails of all the people that I've reached out to.
There's like some ESPN guys here and there, but some of them, other ESPN guys have come on, and then it's back and forth. It's just like some of it's scheduling. Some people were just nice enough to say, "I have a scheduling issue, I can't do it." But
let's see. Yeah. Joel Klatt, I think, was one of the bigger names that I've reached out to in an email. Just like this, to bring him on a pod for a little bit, talk some football. Never heard back from him. Albert Breer's another one that I've tried to reach out to. Like those two guys, I just never heard from. It was like getting ghosted by your girlfriend who doesn't want to be your girlfriend anymore. But I mean,
I'll text Albert for you. I got Albert on the text. I can text him for you. Tell him get on the pod.
Ooh.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, look at this!
Look at that!
I might take you up on that.
Good job, Dave. Good question to throw that out. Reverse that right there.
All right, Quincy, thank you so much for coming on. We'd love to have you on again to talk quarterbacks because I think we could pick your brain forever.
Let's do it. I'm always down. Next time we're gonna do it in the morning.
You got it.
Sounds good.
You got it. Make sure of that. Go enjoy the Houston nightlife, and we will talk. We'll talk again soon.
All right, you guys be blessed, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Have a good one.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, peace.
You safe.
All right, Quincy Avery. We will be back with more in a moment. Welcome back to the Opening Kickoff Podcast. Dave Steinwittle, Peyton Gerard is here. Brandon Stevens is here. Our guest for the NFL segment, Devin Fleet, is with us. You just heard Quincy Avery. Again, go read this guy's story. We can't talk about it enough. This was a guy that, after leaving UCLA, was homeless for a while, banking on his dream to get to do what he's doing. And he is just an incredible, very insightful person that we hope we get to have on again real soon. But his guy, Deshaun Watson, is on a bye, but there is a plenty of football to discuss. And we're going to start with the Dallas Cowboys and the mess that has become the Cowboys. They're 2-5. Andy Dalton's head is still somewhere on the field in Landover. It's a mess. They're calling for Mike McCarthy. Mike Nolan put Tabasco sauce in his eyes by accident in a conference call. I mean, let's ask the question because I don't think the answer is going to be what we're all going to say. But, Devin, I'll start with you. Do you think Mike McCarthy keeps his job next year?
Oh, man. Oh, God. Well, I don't see how he does. Unless they win the division and make the playoffs, which, I mean, they're only a half game out being 2-5. So, I don't know, dude. Dallas, that's just a train wreck waiting to happen. And I think it starts with Jerry Jones. And it's just an absolute shame that Dak Prescott didn't get his money. And he went down with that terrible injury. And, I mean, Andy Dalton, when he came in for relief, he wasn't bad. He was bad against the Redskins until he got knocked out cold by that very dirty hit. I don't even know the third string. Was it Benucci? What's his name? Benucci?
Danucci.
Yeah, a legend of James Madison. A legend of him.
Yeah. Okay, so him. He's the Dallas Cowboy, America's team starting quarterback right now. I don't see them winning any more than 5 or 6 games, but I mean, 5 or 6 wins will probably get them into the playoffs with how bad that NFC East is. I think McCarthy is gone as long as they don't make the playoffs, which, I mean, they have a really good chance at making the playoffs, sadly. And I don't think the NFL playoff format's ever going to change. But if it were to be put in question, looking at the NFC East, it should be changed after this year. But I think McCarthy loses his job if the Cowboys do not make the playoffs.
Peyton, same question to you.
I don't know. Dude, it doesn't make any sense. Mike McCarthy sat in his house for a year with a bunch of dudes and just game plan for no game. And they literally have been ridiculed and basically made fun of by their own players day in and day out. It's like literally Mike McCarthy is like that terrible boss that is just like a laughing stock around the office. No one fears him. No one's scared of him. People just like make fun of him the whole entire time. And they literally just go like around the water cooler, just cracking jokes about him. Like, did you see what he called on third down? He literally called like a fake punt on third down, like some stupid shit like that. Like, it doesn't make any sense how he's so bad right now. I think Jerry will give him another shot. I think COVID, Dak, Andy Dalton getting hurt. I think he'll get a lot of passes, but Jerry Jones' temper, I don't know if you saw him on the radio this morning telling a guy to shut the hell up. I don't know where his temper level is right now, but I think he's getting real tired of being the joke on Monday morning. So something's got to change. So if he lives to see another season, he better fix it like quick, like very, very quickly.
I'm speaking from a pure Zeke fantasy owner standpoint here. I'm tired of the Cowboys. you're looking at what a team is without their second best player, right? Like the quarterback is such a crucial part of an NFL team, right? And like you're seeing it now. You lose your starter and your two backups aren't really the greatest players. I mean, Andy Dalton served his time in Cincinnati. He did what he had to do for a couple years there. And you got Ben DiNucci, an unproven talent. You got Zeke, who's leading the league in fumbles. He can't figure it out. Their offensive line is, the four of us and Zach Martin. I don't know. I don't know what they have to look forward to. I mean, their defense is terrible, like really really bad. Their secondary is awful. They just traded Everson Griffin today for like a conditional 6th-round pick. So they're scrambling right now. I don't know if this season is going to get any brighter for Dallas, but I mean,
still a game back or so, right?
Still a game back. That's the crazy part. Like you're a half game back at 2-5. Mike McCarthy should be counting his days. I mean, hopefully he leased or rented whatever space he's living in right now and didn't buy it because he won't be there next year.
Maybe he jumped into the whole head coach thing a little fast.
Well, my whole thing is, how do you even get another job after Green Bay? Like those later years in Green Bay? Like how?
I think he probably sold it that it was Aaron Rodgers' fault, which I don't know how you sell that, but shit.
But they do a good job, right? Because here's the thing, right? With the Aaron Rodgers thing is you got all those stories coming out about how he doesn't get along with his family and yada yada yada. So it makes it seem like really easy for him to have a beef with his coach. It's easy to pass it on to Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, it's very
I think he has a beef with the guy now. I think he literally has a beef with the guy now.
Yeah, and then you come to your press conference and tell people that like you don't know how you got the job, like you lied to get the job. Like I don't know. I don't know. The NFL's got a lot of answering to do about these coaches that just keep getting jobs for no reason.
Yeah. In other terms, we're talking about the guy down in New York that's running the Jets into the ground.
Oh, New Jersey.
Yeah, wherever he's killed the Jet franchise.
This is the only New York team. This right here is the only New York team.
I thought we were talking Giants with Gettleman.
Him too.
Him too.
Let me say this about the whole Cowboys situation. I think Mike McCarthy's job is safe. I really do, even as bad as this is. But it still goes back, I think, to the point that everybody has tried to make about the Dallas Cowboys for years. Jerry Jones should not be running the team. Stephen Jones should not be running the team. You need a legitimate general manager in there because the decision-making has not worked for the Dallas Cowboys. First off, the offensive line is bad, as you guys have alluded to. And they had what everybody said was one of the most dominant offensive lines of all time just 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, this was an offensive line that everybody was saying if it stayed together would be dominant. Guess what? It didn't. You let guys walk. You didn't fill in. You took it for granted. Now you're paying for it. And Dak Prescott –
No,
stop. He didn't get hurt because of the offensive line, but he was doing a lot of running around this year because the offensive line was so bad. You have Ezekiel Elliott, who the guy's in his own head, which is fascinating to watch. He just can't do anything right now. And then you have a defense where, again, you let talent go. Byron Jones is a really good cover corner. You let him walk to go to Miami. Guess what? He's playing pretty damn well down with the Dolphins. So they've made poor decisions. And as much as we're going to blame Mike McCarthy, and as much as Jason Garrett's got to be believed, the end-all be-all is this still falls on Jerry Jones because they didn't make the right decisions, and they're paying for it. But the scapegoat is always going to be the head coach. It's unlike any other spot in football. All the other coaches, you can point and say, well, okay, it is on the coach. Look at X, Y, and Z, Dan Quinn, those guys. This is clearly like, again, Mike McCarthy, one about him. What's happening this year is not on him. This is on the guys upstairs running the team that have let the talent go and are paying for it.
I think Mike McCarthy, like I said, he deserves a lot of criticism he gets, but not all of it's warranted. I mean, we've talked about the offensive line. They had Travis Frederick, who I think retired before the season. Zach Martin just went down with an injury. Tyson Smith just hurt his neck. I forget the other offensive lineman, but I think I saw something like either 4 or all 5 of the starting offensive linemen from that dominant offensive line have either retired, gone to another team, or are hurt. Yeah. So that definitely didn't help Dak Prescott. And I feel like also Mike McCarthy, he is getting a lot of heat, but who's the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys?
Mike
and
Miller.
Why is that defense so bad?
I don't know. I really can't figure it out.
Like, Prescott got hurt, and then the next week Andy Dalton played, and after that game, Dak Prescott still led the league in passing because they were down by 30 points every single game, and Dak Prescott was trying to make a comeback, and he was running for his life because he had no one blocking him. That's why Zeke Elliott has had such a terrible fantasy season, because they've been having to pass the ball because they've been playing from behind all season. So, yeah, Mike McCarthy, he needs to get his shit together. Everything looks bad on him since he's the head coach, but the defensive coordinator, that guy needs to be sent to the moon, because I don't know what the heck is going on with that. And then obviously with the injuries, with the offensive line, and then just the dagger to the Cowboys fans and the entire Cowboys nation's heart when Dak Prescott went down. And the worst part is, I think I agree with you, Dave. I think Mike McCarthy's job is safe, because I know at the end of the season, Jerry Jones is going to be like, we didn't have Dak. If we would have had Dak, we would have been A-okay. We would have been fine. And I think that is going to be the main excuse why Mike McCarthy gets another shot next season to right the ship.
I want to transition and talk about some wide receivers, because it's reclamation project time in the NFL. Des Bryant signed with the Ravens practice squad, and Antonio Brown is signing a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's the question I will present to you guys. Who will be more successful, Antonio Brown or Des Bryant?
Yeah.
Is that a serious
What
question?
type of question is that?
What kind of shit is that? I mean,
The guy in his prime, or
you signed a guy to the practice squad. You
Hold on.
Varsity.
Let me explain why I think it'll be Des Bryant.
Okay.
I don't think Antonio Brown is going to make it. I don't. I think whether the civil suit happens or whatever, this is a guy that's going to self-destruct. That team in Tampa Bay is probably going to have some issues with him. So before long, he'll be back on the street. I firmly believe that. So by process of elimination, in my eyes, the choice is simple. It's Des Bryant, because if he does anything, it will probably be better than what you're going to get out of Antonio Brown in Tampa Bay, because Mike Evans is not a hothead, but a very volatile wide receiver. He's not going to like that there's going to be less ball.
He's already not getting the ball. He's already not getting the ball.
It's going to get worse.
Yeah,
He's
Mike
not gonna
Evans,
get targeted.
fantasy owner here. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
So I get where Tampa Bay was coming from, and you want to add talent, but that, first off, is not the guy you go to add the talent at the wide receiver position. I'm sorry. I know you guys, Peyton, had somewhere deep in your heart still like Antonio Brown, even after everything he's done, but that's a train wreck waiting. Now I heard that waiting to happen. It's just, whatever the Ravens get out of Des Bryant, however little it is, I think will still end up being better than Antonio Brown, because you're assuming that Antonio Brown behaves himself, and I just don't think that's going to happen. And I think Bruce Arians is not going to be like Bill Belichick and sit there and try to swallow his tongue. Bruce Arians will be like, get the fuck out of town. I'm not doing this. We're not doing this.
I think that's why AB is also not only just going to Tom Brady, but Bruce Arians as well, because that was Steelers offensive coordinator when Brown was in his early rookie years with the Steelers. So if there is one coach that could, besides Mike Tomlin, that can keep him in check, that's not Bill Belichick or Mike Tomlin. Let me throw in Bill Belichick because he keeps everyone in check. It would be Bruce Arians, because of that familiarity with each other. And then Todd Haley came in and ruined everything, but we won't go down that road. But Honestly, I think Des Bryant can be good. It depends on Lamar, honestly. Lamar, because his top wide receiver is, I guess, Mark Andrews. He's like, that's his security blanket. But other than that, Hollywood Brown, like Willie Snead, I guess, maybe. He doesn't have that huge it factor wide receiver. Des Bryant, he is an it factor wide receiver, but let's see. I have to see it. You said practice squad, right? So
practice squad until they believe he gets up to speed with the offense. So
let me ask you this.
Probably a week or two. Go ahead.
Miles Boykin, what's wrong with him? Let me ask you that.
He doesn't know how to run a route.
Okay. There is something, to Brandon's point, when I go back and watch the film, there seems to be a disconnect, first off, between him and Lamar Jackson. They can't get on the same page for whatever the reason is. So that's number one. But number two, I think Miles Boykin is overthinking it. There was one play against Washington a couple weeks ago where they were running the out route. It was the interception Lamar threw before halftime. And if you watch him from the film, you can see him counting the steps. Like, not like slow deliberately, but you can see him run up, and exactly like you would teach him to do it in practice. Run up, slow up, cut, boom. That's exactly how you teach an out route. He did that in the middle of a game when Lamar Jackson had a pass rush, and an out route is a timing. You get the ball, 1, 2, 3, boom, ball's out to the sideline before the receiver turns. I think Miles Boykin is overthinking it, but I also think, and I'll go back to what Quincy said a little while ago, I just don't think this is a passing offense that fits, that can complement the run game. It's a passing game that is dependent on the run game. And when you're not running the football, whether it's because of lack of production or, in the Ravens' case, just getting away from the run, your passing game suffers. So it's hard to judge these wide receivers because they'll run the ball twice, but yet they'll run 5 pass plays where Lamar Jackson's either doing a read option or a play a fake handoff. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're doing that but you're not running the ball, you're not fooling anybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. My point being,
go ahead.
My point being was, do you think they brought in Des Bryant? Obviously, hopefully he plays, but to put the fear of God into Miles Boykin, saying this could be like, you could be going down, like, just straight up, like, and bring Des Bryant up.
I mean, I think they could do that anyway, right? Like,
I'm just saying,
just get rid of Miles Boykin and replace him.
You just drafted the guy. I mean, shit. I mean,
but if you're having these issues, right, where it's week in, week out, this guy's, clearly not understanding the playbook, doesn't know how to run a route. I heard, I think it was either last week or the week before, like, they sat down with him, to talk about, like, to ask him, like, do you know what you're doing? Like, do you know what routes to run? Do you know the playbook? It's like, if I have to do this with a guy, I don't think bringing in Des Bryant to scare him is what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to not play him. I think it's just that simple.
And I think you're right. I think that, first off, you're looking at Des Bryant, and I've had this conversation with Raven fans and others, is you're not bringing Des Bryant in to be what he was, because you're not guaranteed that after 2 years of not playing in the league that Des Bryant is going to be that. What you're hoping for is what his calling card was, which was a big body, big possession receiver, something that, if in terms of this Raven offense, what they need is a big body on the outside that can go over the middle, make the catch, and be the security blanket for Lamar Jackson, a la when the Ravens have brought in Anquan Bolden before, or Derek Mason. That's what they're hoping for. Now
they're looking for an X factor. They haven't had an X factor wide receiver since you said it, Anquan Bolden. They've never had a star power wide receiver. I don't think as big as Des Bryant in the past, I would say, decade, maybe 2 decades.
The closest would be Steve Smith. Steve Smith is probably.
Okay. Make a case for that. That's fine. But Des Bryant, first of all, they didn't sign him just to be on the practice squad. He once he gets ready, he will be on the roster one way or another. Even if he's like the 5th or 6th wide receiver, they'll send down like a defensive lineman that's a 4th string for him. He will be on the roster.
I even think he might play Sunday. They may throw him just a couple of snaps Sunday to get his feet wet.
There might be.
I hope.
Yeah,
TJ Watt will beat the shit out of him. Like he comes across like. I'm just saying. I mean, we might as well just dive right in.
I was gonna say,
there's a lot of animosity.
I think Dave is being very, he's being very controlled and calm because he doesn't want to set himself up and he doesn't want to get into, the bad karma, talking shit, all that stuff. Like he doesn't want to get into that until like Sunday where he's like, yeah, eat shit, Peyton. I told you. I knew it the whole time. That's what he's doing. I get it. I respect that play. I get it. I'm that way with your co-host Joe Schiller and all them. I try to be very civil until game day. I'm not playing any games this time. I'm tired of it.
I'm going to say this right now. I will not answer my phone from 1 until 4:30 on Sunday. But I do that pretty much anyway because that's just how I watch football. I lock in and watch all the stuff that goes on. But especially this week, I'm not answering, so don't fucking text me because I'm not going to answer. And that goes for anybody out there, friends, family that listens to this pod. Do not try to reach me from 1 to 4:30 because I will be unavailable. Just don't try it. But let's talk about it. It's probably the biggest game Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock, Steelers, Ravens. There's not another game that competes. I want to say this, though, real fast before we get into the X's and O's. Stop asking for this game to be in prime time. It won't happen. And I explained it on Twitter, but I feel like I need to say it here. You can't flex a game the week of. Last week was the exception when they did it with Tampa Bay and the Raiders, but that was because of COVID. So unless the Eagles and Cowboys have an outbreak, that's the Sunday night game. The reason is it's not fair to the teams that go from having the 8:20 game to the 1 o'clock game, doing that midweek. So it has to be done 2 weeks in advance. The other thing that people don't understand, each week networks get to protect 1 to 2 games. So CBS's best game is what? Ravens Steelers. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo are going to do the game Sunday. That's protected, which means that game can't be flexed. Same with Fox. Fox has 2 really good games at 4:25, but they have the late window. They can protect both of those games. And lastly, no matter how bad Dallas is, Dallas always pulls ratings. And at the end of the day, it's about the eyeballs watching the game. And I will also say this, for everyone belly aching that it's a horrible primetime game, I'll see you on Twitter at 9 o'clock when we're talking about Carson Wentz and Ben Narducci because you fuckers will be there, and I know it. Don't feed me anything other than that because I'll be right there watching, but I'm not complaining that it's a Sunday night game.
Honestly, that's a huge game for the NFC East if you really think about it. It might be primetime worthy. Shit, winner of that game.
That's the first place. That's the first place matchup right there. I don't know.
I think at this point, I think the Redskins are going to finish better than the Cowboys.
The who, Parker? The who?
The Washington football team.
Yeah.
But going into Sunday, moving past that, I personally.
Hold on. Let's do this.
How do you want to break this down? I'll let you.
Let's get the neutral party out of the way and get his takes on the game. Brandon, your Bills we'll get to in a little bit because they got a big game on Sunday. But where do you stand with this Ravens-Steeler game before this gets ugly? And I will probably be wanting to kill one of you. And Devin, it's probably you because you're the closest.
Just imagine.
I mean, I'm hardly neutral in this situation, right? Like the only thing Raven I like is Lamar Jackson. I've been here, Dave, now for 14 years. Never one time have I liked the Ravens. Don't like the fans. I just never got it. It's never resonated well with me. So I'm hardly neutral in this situation. So with that being said, I'm expecting it to be a great game. I think the Steelers pull out the win, but I'm expecting it to be close. Like it's a division game, but I got the Steelers squeezing out the dub.
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
Please let me go first, please.
Yeah, we'll let you go first.
All right. Okay. So, wow. Here we are, 6-0, right? Undefeated Steelers, by the
Who
way.
would have thought? Who would have thought? Not me. Not me. I mean,
4-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, they played bad teams. The Browns, they were 4-1, but they're the Browns. Yeah, okay. Beat the Titans. Wasn't pretty in the second half. Wasn't pretty, but that's the Steeler way. You know, we get a big lead, we sit on it, we make it close at the end. If it went to overtime, I still think we would have pulled it off. This week against the Ravens. Now the Steelers defense, I can go on for how good they are. I said before the season, back in May when I was on the podcast, I'll say it now. They're best defense in the league. If they're not the best, they're the top 3. The one area on that defense they are good at is stopping the run. Stopping Derrick Henry to 60 yards is equivalent to stopping Saquon Barkley to 9 yards like they did week 1 because of how good Derrick Henry is.
He had 9 yards. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot for the Steelers. Barkley had 9 yards. Yes, that's a lot. Right now, after this bye week, the Baltimore Ravens have the worst passing offense. They're ranked 32nd in passing after the bye. Obviously, it's skewed because they had a game off, but they're ranked 32nd. Lamar Jackson.
True?
It is. Lamar
Dave,
Jackson.
Can you confirm?
They're 31st, first off.
31st. My apologies.
Wow.
I am so
I'm
sorry,
shocked.
Dave. I didn't research it that bad or that much, so I apologize for that. So I'll give you a little prediction on what's going to happen here. We're going to stop the run like we have been. We'll put a QB spy on Lamar. Yep. Lamar will have to have an incredible passing game to beat us. I don't think he's going to be as good as Tannehill because he doesn't have the receivers to do it other than Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews, the security blanket in the red zone. I don't think any of the running backs are going to be able to do what Derrick Henry did, which was get 60 yards.
One-sided. It's just so one-sided.
Right? So all the Steelers need to do is just focus on Lamar and to not let him scramble like we did last year when we lost in overtime with a third-string quarterback. Lamar threw 3 interceptions. If we do that again, it's going to be a nice, smooth sailing day on defense, and we got Big Ben Roethlisberger back. And if you remember the last time Ben was at M&T Bank Stadium, he embarrassed the Ravens. So he didn't have Brown. I think Bell was off, but I remember it was a 26-6. It might have been the season before, but I remember it was 26-6.
I would say I don't think that's correct. You're off.
You're off. But move on. You're done. Move on.
You can get upset. You can get scared. But you know,
I'm gonna mute you. Peyton, take over.
All right. I am just so shocked. That was just the most one-sided thing I've ever seen.
Because it is.
Devin,
here's what I'll say.
I have no qualm about muting you right now.
This is great. I love this. So here's my thing. The line. Do you know what the line opened up for Vegas for this game?
5.5. It's down to 3.5, and it's probably going to go down even more.
And that it's just the most absurd thing that Vegas would allow us to take money at 5.5. Like, why would they allow that? That's a bad choice. We're going to start with that. I think it comes down to a few things. If you guys can't establish the run and make us respect it, isn't Mark Ingram questionable now for all of a sudden? I think
he got hurt in the Eagle game, but that was 2 weeks ago, so he may be ready to go.
Well, anyways, but that
practice tomorrow, and we'll find out.
We need to make sure that we're, like he said, it's going to come down to Lamar, and you know that too. That's what he's going to have to make the big throws, and I'm sure he will. It really comes down to what I said last week with us with the Titans. We need to get off the field on third down. Get off the field. It doesn't matter what happens with, if he runs for a long run, if he makes a spectacular play, move on, get off the field. Get off the field. The biggest thing with Steeler games is don't let anybody get in field goal range. Just don't let that happen because you're automatic, especially at M&T from God knows what it is these days. Boswell has been playing well. Knock on fucking wood. Because God, I don't want to jinx that, but he's up there pretty good, doing pretty well over the last year. So I would say it's going to come down to defense getting off third down for both teams. That's my biggest takeaway, that if they can't do that in the long drives, like if the Steelers go down, they get the ball first, and they do what they did against Tennessee in a 10-minute drive, that's just – if you can keep Lamar Jackson off the field, that's a great win right there. That's the best defense you can play with your offense.
Yeah,
I think it's close. I think it'll be one score. I think it'll be a touchdown or less. Typical Ravens Steelers. This is the first time we've seen Big Ben and Lamar go at it. So it'll be a different vibe of like a game where, it just hasn't felt like a Ravens Steelers game in a while. Last year it kind of did, but it wasn't really there. It wasn't the true thing. And I'm excited to see what happens. You got TJ Watt, Bud Dupree. You guys added more people to your defense. So, I'm looking for an old school fashion 17-13 game. That would be awesome. I would love it.
I know I was very one-sided for the Steelers, but the defense for the Ravens and the key for the Ravens to win this game is on defense. And they have to stop the quick passes with Roethlisberger, because Roethlisberger, he's not throwing the ball deep. He's starting to. At the beginning of the year, he didn't, but now he is starting to throw the ball a little deep, but it's the quick slants. Like, the Ravens have to stop those quick slants. James Conner's turning up as well, but if they just crowd the box and don't let him slip to the outside, it's the biggest thing for the Ravens this weekend is their defense, and their defense has to be elite. They just got Njoku paired right next to.
There's not a chance that was said right.
Njoku is the Browns tight end. Ngakoue is the left.
I tried. All right. But they just signed him. He had an entire week, a bye week, to learn the playbook, work with the defense. So the biggest thing for the Ravens is defense this week. They need to cause turnovers. Ben threw 3 interceptions against the Titans. So he's been not keeping the ball. He's been turning it over. The thing is, the Ravens have to get the Steelers off the field on offense. That's the biggest thing they need to do. Lamar Jackson needs to control the game on offense, and he needs to stay on the field, because it's not going to be a 42-38 game. This game is going to be one of those grindy 13-10, 17-14s, and it's all going to come down to time of possession.
All right, so it's been kind of entertaining here. I lost my audio for a while. You guys could hear me. I could not hear you guys for life. So I know Devin and Peyton were probably rambling about how the Steelers are going to win. Now it's my time. My time to tell you guys why you're wrong and why the Baltimore Ravens can win this game on Sunday. First things first. I think that Lamar Jackson, the Ravens are 10-2 coming out of byes under John Harbaugh. I think this team will be ready to play. If this game was in Pittsburgh, I don't think the Ravens win. Even without fans, I don't think the Ravens win this game if it's in Pittsburgh. The fact it's at home, Pittsburgh's coming off what ended up being a hard physical game with the Tennessee Titans, that factors into this. But I think the thing that's going to happen is I think there's going to be a realization from Greg Roman, at least for this week, that the run game is going to have to do it. And you're going to have to settle, kind of like Tennessee did, for running and accepting 2-3 yard gains. Because you guys are absolutely right. I'm not taking anything away from the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It is a great defense. You are going to earn the yards on Sunday. So if they're willing to stick with it, I think that they've got a chance. The other thing that makes me think the Ravens can win this game is I think the defense is better than the defense that played in Pittsburgh last year in that game that went to into overtime.
Overtime, yeah.
With Ngakoue being added on the other side alongside Matt Judon, you finally now have a great pass rushing tandem on the outside to go along with Calais Campbell, who's playing out of his mind. You got Derek Wolfe. You got Brandon Williams, who will be back. Brandon Williams wasn't in the Eagle game. Derek Wolfe wasn't in the Eagle game. I think it showed late in the game. I think having those guys there is going to make an impact. I also think having healthy Patrick Queen and having a stud inside linebacker will help considerably. A little worried about the cornerback depth, but again, Marcus Peters didn't play against Ben Roethlisberger. This is the first time Roethlisberger is going to go up against his secondary with Marlon Humphrey at an all-pro level. Jimmy Smith has played well this year, and now you add in Marcus Peters. This is going to be an old-school slugfest that I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day it's like 16-13 Ravens. But if I'm going to pick this game, it's going to come down, I think, to special teams. And I will take the Ravens, and I will take Justin Tucker in a field goal game to win it. But this is going to be classic Ravens-Steelers. And again, I could go either way. You could ask me again in 2 days. I might pick the Steelers. Like, I'm that torn on this game. But I think because they're home and they're the fresher team because they've had the bye, I think the Ravens win the game. If this is the Thanksgiving game in a couple weeks that's in Pittsburgh, I don't think the Ravens win because they won't be the fresher team going into that. But because they're coming off the bye, I think the Ravens win because they've got the motivation to do so.
Yeah. It's funny because you literally said the exact same thing that I just said. And I said it was going to be 17-13, and I said it's going to come down to field position and who's closer to kicking field goals. That's literally what I said. So we're on the same side there. So, I mean, again, it comes down to flip of a coin, honestly. Also, I question, I don't know if you heard that, how far can Justin Tucker kick in M&T? How 65. Far do you 65? I'd say that's probably pretty fair. I'd say that's on point. So
it would depend, though, on the conditions.
Aren't you guys having fans, though, this week?
Yes, it'll be the first game with fans at M&T Bank. It's only like 3,000 they're letting in.
That's just stupid stuff, so it is what it is. I think we're all on the same page with where we are. So we're gonna move on. We're only gonna touch on one other game here, just out of respect to our other co-host Brandon Stevens here. The Bills and the Patriots. Now this is interesting.
Thanks for the respect.
Now this is interesting though, because it's a big game for you guys. Because I mean this could be a big win for the AFC East right here. Like a big pull out ahead. You have momentum. Miami's really the only one looking in the rear view, right? The line is only 3. So I don't know if they're just assuming Cam Newton's going to come back and have the game of his life. Maybe with how the Bills have been playing defense. I love the Bills. They screwed me last week and couldn't cover. I don't know how, with how many red zone trips they had. Just never. I mean, Josh Allen MVP race is dead. So it's over. It was fun for like a week and a half, but it was. I'm gonna go with the Bills. I don't know how the Patriots cover. Their defense is abysmal. Stephon Gilmore, I don't know where he is. He's not stopping anybody ever since Seattle game. So I don't know. I'm going the Bills. Nobody circles the wagons.
Oh really? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a close game. I mean, it's Bill Belichick we're talking about here. Like, I don't care who he's got on his team. Like, the guy's always gonna just find a way to beat the Bills somehow. Like, I don't think there's anything he hates more than losing to the Bills. Maybe the Giants after the Super Bowls, but like, I don't think there's anything he hates more than losing to the Bills. So I think they're definitely gonna be back on top this week. I think they're going to look a lot better than they did last week against the Niners. I still think we pull out the win. I just need our offense to figure it out when we get into our, get into the red zone. Our defense looked phenomenal last week, but we played the Jets. So it's like, keep that up. Treat the Patriots like they're the Jets, and just, come out and just play the game that I know we can play. I think we'll squeak it out.
The one thing I think, I think the Bills, they're going to win Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
I think the Bills are going to win relatively easy. I don't think like 20, 30 points easy, but I think it'll be by a touchdown or two. And that's only if Cam Newton plays like he has post-coronavirus, like when he got diagnosed. Because before he got diagnosed with coronavirus, I mean, the Patriots looked good. That offense looked unstoppable. The defense was playing well. They were giving teams run for their money. I know they lost to the Seahawks, but they lost on the 1 yard line. So they could both have, like the Bills and the Patriots, they could be very close record wise right now. But it's the X factor in that game is Cam Newton. He's got to play like he did at the beginning of the year, and he's poised for a comeback. He needs a revival for this season right now because, I mean, last week was poor. The week before that was worse. That's the biggest thing. That's the only way I could see the Patriots win this game is Cam Newton stepping up because Jared Stidham he's not going to get it done against the Bills. The Bills are a great team. I think the Bills do win this game. Even if Cam Newton has a comeback game, I think it's still going to be close. But if Cam Newton played like he did last week, I think the Bills will win by a few touchdowns.
I'm going to take the Bills. Quincy Avery told us a little while ago, you can go back and catch that part, that Cam Newton is such a rhythm and timing stuff that by having the virus and not being able to practice for 2 weeks, he's out of that rhythm. I think it's going to take him an extra week to get it going. But Brandon, the Bills, I just can't trust them. I mean, they're going to win this division. The only other team that I think right now legitimately is going to give them a run is the Miami Dolphins. But that's kind of a question mark because we don't know how they're going to act with Tua. But they're going to win this game because they are better than the Patriots at where the Patriots are right now. But it's not going to be anything that you're going to sit there and at the end of the day go, the Buffalo Bills have proven to you that they can legitimately be a team to worry about for the Super Bowl. They just are not that. They're lacking. Their defense is worse than it was last year. And Josh Allen is still the same quarterback. He is not getting any better. He has stayed the same.
Interesting. Well, all right.
Let's go to our upset. Yeah,
we're all on the Bills here, and I think we're all on the same side that there's a peacefulness about the NFL where the Patriots suck. So it's like it feels nice. It feels nice not worrying about them. So
let's go to upset pick of the week. We did it last week. I think we came pretty close. I almost had the Bengals almost pulled one out for me in upset of the week. Devin Fleet, who gets the big upset in your eyes this week?
Oh, man. This week, I'm trying to think of all the really good games. Like, I don't know, man. I don't even think I really want to consider it an upset, but, like, I know the Raiders are playing really well. And I know they're playing the Browns, but I think the Browns are somehow going to sneak away another win. They're sitting right now 5-2. A half game behind the Ravens because of a bye, and like a game and a half behind the Steelers. If they win this game, they'll go to, I believe, 6-2. I believe that's what their record will be. I think they'll sneak away a win against the Raiders at home. So that's my upset.
I'm going to take the Detroit Lions at home to knock off the Indianapolis Colts because I think there's a lot of people that are still very high on Indianapolis, and I am just not.
I don't know.
They love the defense there in Indianapolis, but there's something about this Lion team. Now, again, Matt Patricia doesn't deserve to be a head coach, but Matt Stafford and this team is just finding ways to pull these games out, and I think they'll get above 500 this week. So I'll take the Lions at home to upset the Colts.
Well, I took the Lions last week. Great pick by me. I'm not going to pick them. I'm not going to pick the same person. My upset pick of the week.
Don't you do it.
My upset pick of the week is going to be the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, my God. I'd say don't do it.
Over the Los Angeles Rams. I almost said St. Louis Rams. I don't know what Tua is going to do. I mean, if it's even close to what Fitzpatrick's been doing, I just think the Dolphins' defense is playing fantastic. Brian Flores, a very underrated coach, I think. I think he'll get the respect he deserves by the end of this season when it's all said and done. But, I mean, they're playing good, and they're coming off a bye. I think that helps them. Rams, shorter week, so I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
It's a shame that we can't pick the same game because I had the Dolphins. I had this whole thing about Tua, coming out. Like I had this whole thing just ready to go, and then here comes Peyton.
Well, pick the only other one. There's only other one really solid.
Yeah, there's really only one legit upset this week. But two kinda maybe. But I'll take the Cincinnati Bengals over the Tennessee Titans.
That's not what I was talking about.
No,
I was talking about the 49ers.
You think I was going to go Jets Chiefs?
I thought you were going to go San Francisco 49ers over the Seahawks. I mean,
nah. I'm going to go Bengals over Titans, man. I think Joe Burrow. I think the defense finally gets it together this week, and we're going to see another big game from Joe Burrow.
Wow, that would be great if the Titans this week for the Ravens and the Steelers. It would be great.
Hate that because that brings me into parlaying with Peyton. So, we're going to take the Bills -3.5. We're going to take the Titans -5.5. I already put that in already today because I think it's going to climb to 7. And I'm going to do something because I think this is the way to go. Mix it up. I'm going to throw the Ohio State Buckeyes -12 against Penn State. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to throw that in there.
Yeah, after they lost to Indiana, I mean, it's pretty wide open.
I don't know why this is 12 because Penn State sucks. They are a shit football team. And Clifford is, I don't know if anyone believes in that guy because he came back, whatever. Ohio State didn't play their best first week, and they beat the shit out of Nebraska. And Ryan Day does not care about anybody in the Big Ten. Dabo, people who kiss the ring of Dabo Swinney get a pass and he won't run it up on you. Ryan Day doesn't care who you are any day of the week, Sunday after church at your mother's house. He's going to run that thing up on you. And he will love to run it up on Penn State. Yeah. He would, and it would be a statement win. And honestly, I think he probably feels like he needs to make a big statement if he wants to get in the college football playoff, playing at more of a disadvantage. So, and I don't know who's stopping Justin Fields or anybody because everyone on that team, no matter if the starter gets hurt, Olave, if he's out, whatever, it doesn't matter. Their freshman wide receivers are sick. Dude literally went Matrix and toe tapped in the back of the end zone, and it was awesome. So, I'm going, just to reiterate, Buffalo -3.5, Tennessee -5.5, Ohio State -12.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Opening Kickoff Podcast. Our thanks to Devin Fleet for joining us. And I guess he gets an invite back.
I'll be back for the Thanksgiving game.
Well, that's for you. You can say that, but
we're still undefeated.
Well, shut up, Devin. All right. Also, our thanks to Quincy Avery. Go check him out. Please go listen to the interview. Go back, listen to it. It's well worth re-listening, even if you're already this way through. We will be back next week. Ben Albright is going to join us. He will help us recap the NFL trade deadline, and we're going to dive into some college football with the very latest. So for Devin Fleet, for Brandon Stevens.
Nobody circles the wagon, baby.
For Peyton Gerard.
Have a good week. Eat shit birds. Let's go.
I'm Dave Steinwaddle. Have a great week, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Peace out, guys.